What if I told you that the most legendary basketball player of our generation was unknowingly practicing a principle that was written decades before he was even born? What if the obsession that made Kobe Bryant unstoppable on the court was actually a hidden philosophy that Napoleon Hill had already mapped out in the minds of the world's most successful individuals? The connection between these two titans of human achievement runs deeper than you could ever imagine, and once you see it, you'll never look at greatness the same way again. There's a moment in every champion's journey where talent stops being enough, where natural ability hits its ceiling, and where something far more powerful must take over. For Kobe Bryant, that moment came early, and what emerged from it wasn't just dedication or hard work. It was something that Napoleon Hill called the most dangerous weapon in the arsenal of human potential. This wasn't coincidence. This wasn't luck. This was the unconscious application of a principle so profound that it has created legends across every field of human endeavor for over a century. The world saw Kobe's relentless pursuit of perfection and called it obsession, but they missed the deeper truth lurking beneath the surface. They witnessed the 4 a.m. workouts, the countless hours of practice, the refusal to accept anything less than absolute mastery, and they labeled it as extreme dedication. What they failed to recognize was that Bryant had tapped into a force that Napoleon Hill identified as the single most important factor separating those who achieve extraordinary success from those who remain trapped in mediocrity forever. This principle doesn't just explain why Kobe became who he became. It reveals the exact blueprint that every person who has ever achieved something truly remarkable has followed, often without even realizing it. It's the invisible thread connecting Thomas Edison's 10,000 failed light bulb experiments to Michael Jordan's refusal to accept defeat, from Henry Ford's unwavering belief in the horseless carriage to Steve Jobs' obsession with revolutionary design. The same force that drove these legends was burning inside Bryant every single day of his career. Tonight, you're about to discover not just what this principle is, but how you can harness its incredible power in your own life. You're about to understand why some people seem to have an almost supernatural ability to achieve their goals, while others struggle endlessly with the same dreams year after year. The answer lies in a secret that Napoleon Hill uncovered through his study of the most successful individuals of his time, and that Kobe Bryant demonstrated every single day he stepped onto that basketball court. The story begins not in a gymnasium or on a basketball court, but in the mind of a young man who refused to accept that talent alone would be enough to reach the summit of his chosen field. While his peers relied on their natural gifts, Kobe Bryant was unconsciously implementing what Napoleon Hill identified as the cornerstone of all lasting achievement: the absolute, unwavering commitment to a single, burning desire. This wasn't simply wanting to be good at basketball, or even wanting to be the best player on his team. This was something far more profound and infinitely more powerful. Napoleon Hill spent 25 years studying the most successful individuals of his era, and in every single case, he discovered that their achievements could be traced back to one fundamental principle: the transformation of a wish into a burning obsession. Not hope, not aspiration, not even strong desire. Obsession. The kind of mental state that consumes every waking moment, that infiltrates every decision, that becomes so deeply embedded in one's consciousness that it operates automatically, without conscious effort or willpower. When Bryant declared that he wanted to be the greatest basketball player who ever lived, something extraordinary happened in his mind. That statement wasn't just a goal or an ambition. It became what Napoleon Hill called a definite chief aim, a mental blueprint so clear and so compelling that his subconscious mind began working 24 hours a day to make it reality. Every practice session, every workout, every moment of study became a step in an unconscious master plan that was far more sophisticated than any strategy a coach could devise. The power of this principle lies not in its complexity, but in its totality. Most people have dozens of competing desires, scattered focus, divided attention. They want success in their career, perfect relationships, financial freedom, physical fitness, and countless other goals simultaneously. Their mental energy becomes diluted across too many targets, and as a result, they hit none of them with sufficient force to create breakthrough results. Bryant's genius, though he may not have recognized it at the time, was in choosing one overarching obsession that would organize every other aspect of his life around its achievement. This singular focus created what Napoleon Hill called a definite major purpose, a magnetic force that began attracting opportunities, resources, knowledge, and circumstances that aligned with Bryant's ultimate objective. When your mind becomes completely absorbed with one burning desire, it develops an almost supernatural ability to recognize and seize upon anything that can contribute to its fulfillment. Coincidences become commonplace, luck seems to follow you everywhere, and obstacles that would stop others become merely stepping stones on your path. The transformation wasn't immediate, and it wasn't without cost. Bryant had to sacrifice countless pleasures, abandon numerous distractions, and maintain an unwavering commitment even when progress seemed impossible. But what Napoleon Hill understood, and what Bryant discovered through lived experience, is that when you truly commit to a burning obsession, the universe itself seems to conspire in your favor. Resources you never knew existed begin to appear, mentors emerge from unexpected places, and solutions to seemingly impossible problems reveal themselves. This is why Bryant's story resonates so deeply with anyone who has ever achieved something extraordinary. He wasn't just playing basketball. He was demonstrating one of the most powerful psychological principles ever discovered, showing the world what happens when human potential is focused like a laser beam on a single, all-consuming objective. The results speak for themselves, but the principle behind those results remains available to anyone willing to make the same level of commitment to their own definite major purpose. What separated Bryant from every other talented athlete wasn't his physical gifts or even his work ethic. It was his unconscious mastery of what Napoleon Hill called transmutation of desire. This principle reveals how burning obsession transforms from a mental state into physical reality, creating a bridge between the world of thought and the world of tangible achievement. Bryant didn't just want to be great. He had learned to convert that wanting into an unstoppable force that reorganized every aspect of his existence around its fulfillment. The process begins with what Napoleon Hill identified as autosuggestion, the continuous feeding of your conscious mind with thoughts, images, and beliefs that align with your burning desire. Bryant didn't simply practice basketball. He lived and breathed basketball 24 hours a day. Every conversation, every book, every moment of study was filtered through the lens of his ultimate objective. His mind became a perpetual workshop, constantly processing information and experiences in ways that contributed to his mastery. This constant mental rehearsal created what modern neuroscience now calls neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself based on repeated thoughts and actions. But Napoleon Hill understood this principle decades before scientists had the technology to measure it. He observed that individuals who maintained burning obsessions literally changed the structure of their thinking, developing new neural pathways that automatically guided them toward their objectives. Bryant's mind became a finely tuned instrument, calibrated exclusively for basketball excellence. The transformation extended beyond mere mental conditioning. Napoleon Hill discovered that burning desire creates what he called specialized knowledge, an almost mystical ability to absorb, retain, and apply information related to your definite major purpose. Bryant didn't just study basketball. He became a student of everything that could possibly contribute to his dominance. Psychology, nutrition, anatomy, strategy, history. Every field of knowledge became a potential source of competitive advantage. This hunger for specialized knowledge manifested in Bryant's famous attention to detail. While other players focused on obvious skills like shooting and dribbling, he studied the subtle mechanics of footwork, the psychological patterns of opponents, the strategic implications of seemingly minor game situations. He watched film not just of his own games, but of legendary players from previous generations, extracting principles and techniques that he could adapt to his own style. This wasn't casual learning. It was the systematic acquisition of every piece of information that could contribute to his ultimate objective. The power of this approach becomes clear when you understand Napoleon Hill's principle of organized knowledge. Random information has little value, but when knowledge becomes organized around a burning desire, it transforms into wisdom. Bryant didn't just accumulate facts about basketball. He developed an integrated understanding that allowed him to see patterns, anticipate developments, and make split-second decisions that seemed almost supernatural to observers. His obsession had created a mental framework that could process and utilize information in ways that appeared impossible to those operating from scattered focus. This systematic approach to knowledge acquisition created what Napoleon Hill called synthetic imagination, the ability to combine existing concepts in new ways to create breakthrough innovations. Bryant's signature moves, his strategic insights, his leadership style, all emerged from this process of taking established principles and recombining them in unique configurations. His obsession hadn't just made him better at existing techniques. It had transformed him into an innovator who expanded the very definition of what was possible in his field. Behind every moment of Bryant's legendary career stood a psychological fortress that Napoleon Hill identified as the most critical factor in achieving any significant goal: unwavering persistence in the face of temporary defeat. This wasn't simply refusing to quit when things got difficult. It was the development of an unshakable mental state that viewed obstacles not as barriers, but as necessary steps in the achievement process. Bryant had unconsciously mastered what Hill called the psychology of persistence, turning setbacks into fuel for even greater determination. The principle operates on a fundamental truth about human psychology. Most people abandon their goals not because they lack ability, but because they interpret temporary failures as permanent defeats. They experience a setback, decide that success is impossible, and redirect their energy toward easier targets. Bryant's mind operated from a completely different framework. Every missed shot, every lost game, every criticism from coaches or media became evidence that he needed to intensify his efforts, not abandon them. Napoleon Hill discovered that this mindset wasn't natural. It had to be carefully cultivated through what he called controlled attention. Bryant didn't allow his mind to dwell on defeats or setbacks. Instead, he immediately redirected his focus toward analyzing what could be learned from the experience and how it could contribute to future success. This mental discipline created an almost impermeable barrier against discouragement, disappointment, and despair. The psychological mechanism behind this transformation involves what Hill identified as faith, not religious faith, but absolute certainty in the eventual achievement of your burning desire. Bryant didn't hope he would become great. He knew it with the same certainty that he knew the sun would rise tomorrow. This unshakable conviction created a mental state that automatically generated solutions to problems, recognized opportunities others missed, and maintained motivation even during the darkest periods of struggle. This level of faith doesn't develop overnight, and it doesn't emerge from positive thinking or empty affirmations. It grows from what Napoleon Hill called organized effort, the systematic application of definite plans toward definite objectives. Every successful practice session, every small improvement, every incremental gain became evidence supporting Bryant's ultimate certainty. His faith wasn't blind optimism. It was rational confidence based on accumulated proof of his ability to progress toward his goal. The power of this psychological state extends far beyond personal motivation. Napoleon Hill observed that individuals operating from burning desire and unshakable faith develop what he called magnetic personality, an almost irresistible ability to attract the cooperation and support of others. Bryant's teammates, coaches, and even opponents found themselves drawn into his orbit, inspired by the intensity of his commitment and the certainty of his vision. His obsession became contagious, elevating everyone around him to higher levels of performance. This magnetic quality creates what Hill identified as the mastermind principle, the ability to coordinate the knowledge, experience, and efforts of multiple individuals toward a common objective. Bryant didn't achieve greatness in isolation. He became a focal point that organized the talents of entire teams around the pursuit of excellence. His burning desire created a gravitational field that pulled resources, opportunities, and support from directions he could never have anticipated or planned. What the world witnessed in Bryant's relentless pursuit of perfection was actually the external manifestation of what Napoleon Hill called definiteness of purpose, the most fundamental principle underlying all extraordinary achievement. This wasn't simply having clear goals or strong motivation. It was the complete reorganization of one's entire life around a single, overriding objective that becomes more important than comfort, convenience, or even personal safety. Bryant had unconsciously constructed what Hill identified as the architecture of excellence. The principle operates through what Napoleon Hill discovered was the most powerful force in human psychology: the subconscious mind's ability to work continuously toward any objective that has been clearly defined and emotionally charged. When Bryant visualized himself as the greatest player in basketball history, he wasn't engaging in wishful thinking. He was programming his subconscious mind with a blueprint that would guide every decision, every action, every moment of his life toward its fulfillment. This subconscious programming manifested in ways that seemed almost supernatural to outside observers. Bryant would instinctively recognize opportunities for improvement that others missed entirely. He would develop innovative solutions to technical problems without conscious effort. He would maintain peak performance levels even under extreme pressure because his subconscious mind had been trained to operate automatically toward his definite major purpose. What looked like natural talent was actually the result of systematic mental conditioning. The process required what Napoleon Hill called applied faith, not merely believing in the possibility of success, but acting with complete certainty that success was inevitable. Bryant's training regimens weren't desperate attempts to improve. They were systematic investments in a future that he could see with absolute clarity. Every repetition, every drill, every moment of study was performed with the confidence of someone who already knew the outcome. This mental state created a level of focus and intensity that his competitors found impossible to match. This certainty wasn't based on arrogance or delusion. It was grounded in what Hill identified as accurate thinking. Bryant had carefully analyzed the requirements for basketball greatness and systematically developed every necessary skill, quality, and characteristic. He understood exactly what separated good players from great ones and great players from legends. His confidence wasn't blind optimism. It was rational assessment based on comprehensive preparation. The power of this approach becomes evident when you consider the compound effect of sustained excellence over time. While other players experienced peaks and valleys in their performance, Bryant maintained an almost mechanical consistency because his subconscious mind had been programmed to operate at maximum efficiency regardless of external circumstances. Fatigue, pressure, criticism, injury, none of these factors could derail a system that operated automatically below the level of conscious awareness. This systematic approach to excellence created what Napoleon Hill called controlled attention, the ability to focus your mental energy exclusively on factors that contribute to your definite major purpose while automatically filtering out everything else. Bryant didn't waste mental energy on distractions, comparisons, or irrelevant concerns. His mind had become a precision instrument, calibrated to recognize and respond only to information and opportunities that aligned with his ultimate objective. The most profound aspect of Bryant's journey wasn't his basketball achievements. It was his unconscious demonstration of what Napoleon Hill identified as the transformation principle, the process by which burning desire literally reconstructs human personality, habits, and capabilities. Bryant didn't simply become better at basketball. He became a fundamentally different person, operating from mental and emotional frameworks that were impossible for him to access before his obsession took hold. This transformation begins with what Hill called controlled enthusiasm, a sustained emotional state that energizes every action and decision toward your definite major purpose. Bryant's legendary intensity wasn't manufactured or performed for others. It was the natural expression of a mind that had become completely absorbed with its primary objective. His enthusiasm created an energy field that influenced everyone in his presence, inspiring teammates, intimidating opponents, and commanding respect from coaches and fans alike. The psychological mechanism behind this transformation involves what Napoleon Hill discovered about the relationship between conscious thought and subconscious programming. When you maintain burning desire long enough, your subconscious mind begins to accept your objective as already achieved and starts operating from that assumption. Bryant didn't practice to become great. He practiced because he was great, and great players practice relentlessly. This subtle shift in mental framework created enormous changes in behavior, decision-making, and results. The process extends beyond individual psychology into what Hill called environmental conditioning. Bryant's obsession naturally attracted circumstances, opportunities, and relationships that supported his definite major purpose, while repelling influences that could undermine his progress. He didn't consciously choose every aspect of his environment. His environment organized itself around his burning desire because, like attracts like in the realm of human psychology. This environmental alignment created what Napoleon Hill identified as harmonious cooperation, the tendency for people and circumstances to naturally support individuals who are operating from definite major purpose. Bryant's coaches wanted to help him succeed. His teammates elevated their games to match his intensity. Even his opponents pushed him to higher levels of performance because they recognized they were facing someone operating from extraordinary commitment. The cumulative effect of this transformation principle is what Hill called personal magnetism, an almost irresistible attractiveness that draws opportunities, resources, and support from unexpected directions. Bryant's career was filled with seemingly fortunate coincidences, perfectly timed opportunities, and crucial support from people who had no obvious reason to help him. These weren't random events. They were the natural result of operating from the transformation principle. Understanding this principle reveals why Bryant's achievements extended far beyond basketball statistics. He had become living proof that human beings can consciously direct their own evolution, systematically transforming themselves from one level of capability to another through the sustained application of burning desire toward a definite major purpose. His legacy isn't just about basketball excellence. It's about demonstrating the unlimited potential that exists within every human being who chooses to access it. The most remarkable aspect of this transformation is its permanence. Once you've experienced the power of operating from definite major purpose, you can never return to scattered focus or casual effort. Bryant had crossed a psychological threshold that made mediocrity impossible and excellence inevitable. He had become what Napoleon Hill called a master of circumstances, someone who creates their own reality rather than merely responding to external conditions. What Napoleon Hill recognized through his decades of research, and what Bryant demonstrated through his legendary career, was that success isn't mysterious or dependent on luck. It follows a precise formula that can be understood, applied, and replicated by anyone willing to pay the price. This formula involves the systematic coordination of 6 specific elements that, when properly combined, create an unstoppable force toward any definite objective. The first element is what Hill called definiteness of purpose, the clear, specific identification of exactly what you want to achieve. Bryant didn't simply want to be good at basketball. He wanted to be recognized as the greatest player in basketball history. This level of specificity provided his subconscious mind with a precise target that could be systematically pursued through organized effort. Vague goals produce vague results, but definite objectives create definite outcomes. The second element involves what Hill identified as burning desire, an emotional intensity that transforms casual interest into consuming passion. Bryant's relationship with basketball transcended mere career choice or personal interest. It became the organizing principle around which his entire existence revolved. This level of emotional commitment creates an energy that automatically attracts the resources, opportunities, and support necessary for achievement. The third element is organized planning, the systematic development of practical methods for achieving your definite major purpose. Bryant didn't rely on inspiration or natural talent alone. He created detailed strategies for developing every aspect of his game, from physical conditioning to mental preparation to strategic understanding. His success resulted from the intelligent application of proven principles rather than random effort or wishful thinking. The fourth element involves what Hill called specialized knowledge, the acquisition of information and skills directly related to your objective. Bryant became a student not just of basketball, but of everything that could contribute to basketball excellence. Psychology, nutrition, biomechanics, leadership, history. Every field of knowledge became a potential source of competitive advantage. His expertise wasn't accidental. It was systematically developed through focused study and application. The fifth element is persistence, the ability to continue moving toward your objective despite temporary setbacks, criticism, or apparent failures. Bryant's career was filled with defeats, injuries, and disappointments that would have discouraged less committed individuals. But his persistence wasn't based on stubborn refusal to quit. It was rooted in absolute certainty that continued effort would eventually produce the desired results. The sixth element is what Napoleon Hill called the mastermind principle, the ability to coordinate your efforts with others who share your commitment to excellence. Bryant's greatest achievements came not through individual effort alone, but through his ability to inspire teammates, coaches, and support staff to operate at levels they didn't know they could achieve. His burning desire became contagious, creating a collective energy that multiplied the capabilities of everyone involved. When these 6 elements are properly combined and sustained over time, they create what Hill identified as success consciousness, a mental state that automatically recognizes and attracts opportunities while developing solutions to any obstacles that arise. Bryant operated from this level of consciousness throughout his career, which explains why his achievements seemed to transcend normal human limitations. He hadn't just learned to play basketball better. He had learned to harness the fundamental principles that govern all human achievement. The ultimate significance of Bryant's story lies not in his basketball accomplishments, but in his unconscious demonstration of what Napoleon Hill called the science of personal achievement, a systematic approach to human development that can transform anyone from their current circumstances to any level of success they choose to pursue. Bryant had become living proof that extraordinary achievement isn't reserved for the naturally gifted or fortunately positioned. It's available to anyone willing to apply these timeless principles with unwavering commitment. The blueprint begins with what Hill identified as the most important decision any human being can make: choosing your definite major purpose. This isn't simply selecting a career or setting a goal. It's identifying the one overriding objective that will organize every other aspect of your life around its achievement. Bryant's choice to pursue basketball greatness wasn't just a professional decision. It was a commitment that would influence every relationship, every habit, every moment of his existence for decades. This level of commitment creates what Napoleon Hill called definiteness of decision, the complete elimination of doubt, hesitation, and alternatives that could dilute your focus or drain your energy. Bryant didn't maintain backup plans or safety nets that would allow him to quit when challenges arose. He had burned his bridges and committed himself completely to one path, which created an intensity and focus that his competitors found impossible to match. The psychological power of this approach lies in what Hill discovered about the relationship between commitment and capability. When you eliminate all alternatives and commit completely to one objective, your mind automatically develops abilities and resources that were previously inaccessible. Bryant didn't have supernatural talent. He had supernatural commitment, which created supernatural results through the systematic development of every capability related to his chosen field. This process of systematic development extends beyond individual skills into what Hill called personality transformation. Bryant didn't just become better at basketball. He became a fundamentally different person with different thinking patterns, different emotional responses, and different automatic behaviors. His commitment had literally rewired his brain and restructured his personality around the requirements for basketball excellence. The compound effect of this transformation over time created what Napoleon Hill identified as accumulated advantage, the tendency for sustained excellence in one area to create opportunities and benefits in related areas. Bryant's basketball success opened doors in business, entertainment, and personal development that would have been impossible to access through any other path. His definite major purpose had become a gateway to unlimited possibilities. The most profound aspect of this blueprint is its transferability. The same principles that Bryant applied to basketball can be applied to any field of human endeavor with identical results. The names and details change, but the fundamental laws remain constant. Whether your objective involves business, relationships, health, creativity, or service to others, the pathway to extraordinary achievement follows the same systematic approach that Napoleon Hill identified and that Bryant demonstrated throughout his career. Understanding this blueprint reveals why some people seem to have almost magical abilities to achieve their goals, while others struggle endlessly with the same dreams year after year. The difference isn't talent, luck, or circumstances. It's knowledge and application of the principles that govern human achievement. Bryant's legacy isn't just about basketball greatness. It's about proving that these principles work for anyone willing to apply them with the same level of commitment he brought to his chosen field. The truth that emerges from understanding Bryant's unconscious mastery of Napoleon Hill's principles isn't just about basketball or even about individual achievement. It's about the unlimited potential that lies dormant within every human being who chooses to awaken it. Bryant didn't possess abilities that you don't have. He simply applied principles that you can apply to whatever definite major purpose calls to your heart with the same burning intensity. The most profound realization is that what we call greatness isn't a gift bestowed upon a chosen few. It's a systematic process available to anyone willing to pay the price in sustained effort, unwavering commitment, and absolute faith in their eventual success. Bryant's obsession wasn't a personality quirk or fortunate accident. It was the external manifestation of internal principles that have created legends across every field of human endeavor throughout history. The principles Napoleon Hill identified operate with the same reliability as laws of physics, producing identical results for anyone who applies them correctly regardless of their starting point, background, or natural abilities. The man who spent 25 years studying the most successful individuals of his era had uncovered the blueprint for human achievement, and Bryant had lived that blueprint with such intensity that he became one of history's most compelling examples of its power. What separates those who achieve extraordinary results from those who remain trapped in mediocrity isn't intelligence, talent, or favorable circumstances. It's the willingness to choose one burning desire and organize their entire existence around its fulfillment. The same force that drove Bryant to basketball immortality is available to you right now, waiting to be directed toward whatever objective captures your imagination and commands your complete commitment. The question isn't whether these principles work. Bryant's career stands as irrefutable proof of their effectiveness. The question is whether you're ready to apply them with the same relentless intensity that transformed a talented teenager into one of the most legendary figures in sports history. Your definite major purpose is calling, and the choice to answer with burning obsession or casual interest will determine whether you join the ranks of the extraordinary or remain forever wondering what might have been. If this exploration into the hidden connection between Bryant's greatness and Napoleon Hill's timeless wisdom has sparked something within you, if you can feel that burning desire beginning to awaken, then you're ready to begin your own journey toward extraordinary achievement. Share this revelation with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment about your definite major purpose, and subscribe to join a community of individuals who refuse to settle for anything less than their absolute best. The principles are waiting, the blueprint is clear, and your moment of decision has arrived.